Did you know Burning Man got flooded?
I heard something about a little something happening there.
Yeah, it turns out that it got flooded. So I got a 20-second little video we could watch here.
Oh, we don't have our headphones, huh?
Oh, good call, good call. Oh, it's gonna play the audio. Oh, it didn't. It did. Oh, it is. It isn't. We got it. Stopped it just in time.
Like all under these cords.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I don't know, I had a lot more to say about this a week ago when I thought of it. And then it's like I need to work on making these segments more evergreen, because I think of this segment and then like everybody hits it super hard after I think of it, because they have actual shows that are ongoing. And then by the time I get to record it, it's like old news. And then by the time we release it, it's going to be really old news.
That's like everything we've talked about too, basically.
Yeah, not everything, but a lot
that was like a news story.
Yeah, every news story is going to be like a fucking fossil record in the next 10 years. But we're going to try to make some evergreen stuff, but this isn't evergreen. But I do have something evergreen to talk about afterwards. So Burning Man, this happened, and this lady will talk.
At the annual Burning Man Festival is forcing music lovers to shelter in place. A slow-moving rainstorm has turned the site in Black Rock City into a soggy mess. For the
She sounds very inexperienced.
No one is being let in or out of the event. The people now confined to the grounds have been warned to conserve their food and water. Yeah,
so basically Burning Man is like the dumbest shit in the world. Like, it doesn't, they're like going there to burn an effigy of the man, but a lot of them are like CEOs and like judges and like wealthier people. I mean, they sell like a lower income bracket ticket that's like $200, but the rest of the tickets are like super expensive, and it's specifically like marketed towards like, oh, hey, like upper class people who are like have such strict lives. Why don't you go out into the wilderness and be a wild man for a week, you know? And the first like big story I heard about Burning Man was this guy who ran into the Burning Man thing, and because it was built in a way that like it collapsed and then had like a door entrance type of like thing going on, and the dude just ran inside and fucking burned to death in front of everybody, and they pulled him out. And this is the story. Yeah, the week-long event of pop-up installations culminates in massive burns of an effigy known as the Man on Saturday and the Temple on Sunday. He was the guy was just completely sober, I guess, and just ran into the fucking thing to kill himself. He was like talking about suicide beforehand. But the whole point is, the thing is just dumb. What are your thoughts on Burning Man?
That sounds pretty dumb. I don't know. It's
like, okay, so I like to be a little lighter on these guys than a lot of like the people, like the content I consume is, because, you know, leftist content is just, sometimes it could be very like blasé about disregard it. Like, it's very class reductionist, you know, which is in saying that if someone is of a higher class, they're a bad person, which isn't true, you know?
Yeah.
And so like a lot of this coverage of Burning Man has been like, oh, they fucking deserve it. And I wouldn't go that far, but I would say this is the result of their exact like the ideology of Burning Man. Like I don't know why I didn't fucking put it on here, but if you go to the Burning Man thing, they have like these pledges, and it's like the most backwards fucking way of trying to be like, like anarchist or socialist, you know, because like they're like, oh, one of their rules is decommodification, and so they don't sell anything there. So you can't buy like food. The only thing there are like special products that they do sell, but everything else is like you have to trade amongst each other, which is like, okay, but that isn't really decommodifying. Like if you're the fucking festival, decommodifying would be like making the shit free for people, you know, to where it isn't a commodity. But if you're kind of like literally like it's more like a libertarian fantasy than an anarchic one, but they use like terms like decommodify, which isn't a libertarian term. That's like a right-wing term. That's a like a anarchist term, but not anarchist. That's a socialist term.
Well, yeah.
And because it's the process of just making things that are commodities that we need for life into things that are just like a given, you know. But so like, yeah, so it's basically a bunch of disingenuous bullshit using leftist terms to describe what they mean as like a libertarian fantasy, because they're actually rich people who are just sort of being extravagant for a weekend, and they're without any rules there and stuff. And the reason why people fucking die here, or why they end up like stranded out in the middle of nowhere, is because there's no fucking guardrail set up for anybody, because they want it to be dangerous. So in a way, they bring the intensity of it being that bad on themselves. Not necessarily the event, but how badly prepared they were for it was literally part of the experience, you know?
No.
And that's what I think is like the high-minded take on Burning Man, the Burning Man thing. Because I really don't like it when people are like, oh yeah, there are a bunch of CEOs and judges. Well, fuck them. They deserve to drown in the desert.
Yeah. Well, I think I said the same thing last time you brought up Burning Man. It's like, I mean, you don't really know somebody's story just because they're rich or they exist in these circles. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean they've never had it hard. It doesn't mean they didn't earn what they have. I think it's pretty harsh to just take.
Has Burning Man come up on the podcast before?
Yeah, you literally brought it up last episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Before any of this happened?
Yeah. I don't remember why you brought it up, but yeah, we totally just talked about Burning Man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, like, over the past week, I saw it coming up in the news and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. I said the same thing last week. Like, I think it's harsh to just take any group of people. It doesn't matter who it is. You take any group of people and judge them all exactly the same. That's never going to apply to every single one of them.
No.
Unless that group of people is together because of that quality.
Well,
You know what I
and that's
mean?
where it gets a little bit more complex, because you do social analysis requires that you understand that a normal person who isn't a bad person can do awful things because of the system they exist in,
Yeah.
you know? Same way Nazis existed, same way fucking...
I would say that actually applies to everybody. Every single person is capable of horrible things under the right conditions, or I guess the wrong conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to varying extents. I mean, I don't think you could...
Well, yeah.
I don't think you could trick anybody into throwing a baby in the air and shooting it with a shotgun like a disket. But I think you can convince anybody to be racist under the right conditions. You know,
I think you can convince anybody to kill another human under the right conditions.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Maybe if we're talking like hyper specific, but I don't think like under the right real conditions that happen in real life. Like, but I think like under fantasy conditions, yeah, you can compel a person to kill.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because like you would have to create pretty extravagant hypotheticals for people who would otherwise have no impulse to kill. Like, how do you make a 6-year-old like kid kill, you know? Like, it would get into like,
I think a little kid is probably easier to convince if they don't want to do something than an adult. You know what I mean? An adult, you have to like
break down. A kid would break down before a kid killed. Like I raised at least my kid personally. She would you would be like, they would be like crying in a ball on the floor before they would like stab like somebody, you know. From my experience,
I mean, I don't want to get too graphic, but I'm just saying if somebody's like threatening a child,
I want to get extremely graphic.
So
we're
somebody
at the top of the show.
All right,
we're talking Burning Man.
All right. Well, like, if somebody has a fucking like knife up to your kid and tells them to stab another person, you don't think that that person could convince your kid to do that?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't know. I'm not even like, I don't think that's wrong of the kid. I mean, you know what I mean? But I think most kids could be convinced to do that.
But I think that it's like a matter of like, yeah, if every kid was like a steel willed like fucking not gonna crumble when an adult points a knife at them, you know, like just of course we're flying into the craziest like thing. But what I'm saying is like it's like traumatic events cause people to shut down, more so than fight back. And that's exactly like why like there are situations where like women will be raped and they will have a freezing effect because our bodies fucking shut down in traumatic situations. Being told to kill someone is a pretty traumatic situation. I bet at least 20% of the time someone would just panic and just be unable to do it, even if you were like fucking pressing the knife against their neck and they were getting cut. I think that they would still panic until you fucking killed them. Like,
okay, I mean, yeah, I could see that, but
because people are just we're confusing fallacious beings, you know.
Yeah, but I guess maybe not that specific thing you could convince everybody of, but my original point I think still stands. I think you could convince any human of doing something absolutely horrible,
or to at least be on the wrong side of things.
I think you can convince anybody to do something evil.
See, I think that's pretty misanthropic.
You think?
No, yeah,
because I think humans are pretty fucking.
No, I think that's
fragile,
to do something evil is an extreme position, and not most people aren't extreme, but to do something like evil in like a banal sense, like to support the bad side of a like conflict, is something that anybody is capable of doing and thinking that it's the right and good thing. There's no like thinking it's the right and good when you're like slaughtering people for most people, you know, like.
I guess that's the difference as I was trying to get at is I think I would say everybody is capable of doing what they know is wrong under certain conditions.
Yeah,
I don't think,
but that's still a lighter. You have to admit that's a lighter prescription than.
Yeah, but I use the word evil as in like seriously. When I say evil, I mostly mean you're causing a lot of harm.
Yeah,
to somebody.
I think I guess my definition of evil would be like the most extreme. Like that would be the extreme set of things, and then you know like. I would say like unethical for like the lightest terms, and then we would argue about in between that.